Roundtable talk, roundtable talk. Grab a chair, chime in. Bob Arum and his inability to promote black fighters. We see this is evident time and time again, mainly in the case of Terrence Crawford. You know, I know Bob Arum been in the game for a long time, and he's had a lot of success in the boxing game, but he has shown an inability to promote black fighters, you know. And the successes that he has had have been attributed to factors outside of that in which he controlled. And I say this because, you know, even though he had success, there were other things that attributed to the success that didn't have anything to do with him. And point in case, I'll take you guys back to the Ali. Matter of fact, I'm gonna wait for that. I'm gonna wait. I'll get to that later. I'm gonna make this point first. Oscar De La Hoya. When Oscar De La Hoya came out the Olympics, it was a time, Oscar came up in the right time, early 90s, came out 92 Olympics. Now, it was something that was occurring here in America, especially in this region, on the West Coast, in LA, in San Diego, but mainly LA. It was something that was occurring that helped the profitability of Oscar De La Hoya. And that was the influx of the migrations of Mexicans from Mexico here to this region. Now, what you got to remember is, in Mexico, boxing is a national sport. It's like that of NFL, MLB, or NBA in our country. Those athletes are well known and well paid here in America. Now, in Mexico, they aren't nearly paid as much as they are here in America, but the support is still there. The dollar, you know, the revenue in which you can make here in America off of the Mexican fan base is tremendous. Bob took advantage of that. I call him a genius for being up on it. And I've always, whether my assumptions are right or wrong, but I've always assumed that he or the team members that he had around him took this in consideration. And I let a lot of my Mexican friends know this when I talk about Oscar De La Hoya. And they, you know, they rant and rave about Oscar. I rant and rave about Oscar as well, but he wasn't the best thing to come out the 92 Olympics. You know, he was very successful. He was good. I give it to him. But, you know, there were better fighters. We see that just when he fought Mosley twice, you know. And not to take away from, you know, his credibility or the things that he contributed to the game or his individual successes in the game. Oscar was a great fighter. But he made a lot of money because of the different variables that were involved in the time in which he came up. And like I said, he had the support of a huge Mexican fan base. The Mexican fan base is the biggest and most attractive fan base in which you can have in the sport of boxing, especially here on the West Coast. They're going to support you. They coming out to the fight. They buying everything, especially the women. That's the biggest fan base in boxing right now in America, is the Mexican fan base. So Bob Arum used that in his success and his ability to market Oscar. It was like a cheat code. It was success already engineered into the marketing scheme. You got the Mexican fan base, you're going to win. Same thing with Pacquiao. He was successful because Pacquiao got a whole country behind him. Pacquiao was a likable guy. That's easy. Any promoter is going to be able to be successful off of that. All Pacquiao had to do was train his ass off, win, and fight the right people. And he did fight the right people. Mexican fighters who were relevant. So in the process of him fighting these guys, win or lose, most times he won. He gained those Mexican fans as well. But to stand alone on his own 10 toes, Pacquiao was going to be a success anyways because he had the whole Philippines behind him. Now where I'm going to backtrack at with the Ali and the Ali and Frazier Thriller in Manila, and it has a lot of parallels to today between Bob Arum and uh, uh, Bob Arum and Al Heyman. Now, in the promotions of the Thriller in Manila, you had Bob Arum and you had Don King. They co-promoted that card, but it was evident that the genius was implemented by Don King. Why? Because he understood the culture of black people. He understood the rivalry between the two and how to bring that to life and how to sell that the best. He understood that. Why? Because he's a black man. Why? Because he understands the culture. Something that's absent in Bob Arum's ability to want to even understand. Bob Arum stood back and said, "I'll put my name on it, but I'll let you do the hard work and the dirty work." And even though Don King, eventually had Don King Promotions, you could tell he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was totally uh, independent of them, meaning he was able to call his own shots, do everything. When he still played into what they wanted done when they wanted it done. It was like, okay, we'll give you what you want, we'll give you your own thing, but when it's time to make a call for us, you're gonna operate upon our terms. Now, this Al Heyman that Bob Arum's seeing is a totally different guy. He's totally independent of them. He operates upon his own terms. He operates the way in which he found so to be successful for him and the way in which he likes to do business and conduct business. Now, as that relates to Terrence Crawford and Spence, or Terrence Crawford fighting any PBC fighter, Bob Arum does not want to have to deal with doing business on a black man's term. This is not the America that Bob Arum is used to. See, things have changed. The climate of the game has changed. And Bob Arum, no way. He's not going to, in his mind, his pride will not allow him to do this. He will not operate with this man on his term, even if it means Terrence Crawford's going to make the biggest payday of his life. Even if that means he get a 60-40 cut or a 70-30 cut. If Crawford gets 40% of that cut or 30% of that cut, it'll still be the biggest payday of his life. He'll still make more money than Top Rank going to go pay somebody off that they know he's going to wash. But in this case, Bob Arum just does not want to have to relinquish the power that he's used to having in this instance. Al Heyman doesn't have to bow to Bob Arum's wants or desires, or selfish wants or desires. He doesn't have to succumb to that. And Bob Arum knows that. Bob Arum knows that, man, this black man has found a niche in the game. He's very successful at it. He knows it. And he's using everything in his power, and he's using all of his abilities to his power, and everything that he's built over there in PBC, he's using it to his power. And Bob Arum just cannot fathom the thought or the idea of him doing business with a black man on that black man's term. And that's what I believe it really boils down to, because, like I said, this would definitely be a super fight, Spence and Crawford. But Bob Arum, the ego that he's dealing with in Bob Arum, that Terrence Crawford is dealing with Bob Arum, it could potentially cause him tens of millions of dollars. Because you think about it, that fight, I'm sure he can take home 10 million plus. And just imagine this, if he happens to beat Earl Spence, just imagine just how much more money he'll make off of that. That'll catapult him to a whole different level. He'll take some of Spencer's fan. He'll gain a whole new fan base just off of that. But the ego that he's dealing with in Bob Arum is going to cost him. And it's costing him right now, but it could potentially cost him tens of millions of dollars. So I hope whenever he fulfills the obligations of his contract, that he moves over to PBC or he moves over to, another promotional company. Uh, Ideally, it should be his own, to where he'll be able to call the shots of his career moving forward. Because it's sad to put the investment you made in yourself in the hands of somebody who doesn't have your best interest in mind. And Bob Arum is showing you that he doesn't have his best interest in mind in the way in which his career is being unfolded. Now, I don't know if Terrence Crawford, if this is his definition of success, because there is no doubt that he's successful and he's wealthy. He's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, I'm sure. Maybe that's enough for him. But to be called great in this game, you got to beat the greats in your era, and he hasn't fought anybody near that standard of greatness. He hasn't fought nobody near that. Maybe he doesn't want to do that, or he doesn't want to come out to the public and say that. That's not the Terrence Crawford that I see in him. He got a mean streak in him. He got a dog in him. So I would like to believe that Terrence Crawford, I will say this to you personally. I would like to believe that you know that you can be the best, and you know that you can beat the best. I'm quite sure him and Bob Arum have talks that he's not going to put into the light of the public, and he's not going to, expose the details of those conversations that they have. So, this is why he's probably just going along playing the game that Bob Arum has allotted to him and has told him, hey, look, make sure you say these things and do these things because we have these agreements and you still under contract, you still under my rule of thumb. That's how I think it's being played out. But like I said, I hate to see him lose the amount of money that he's potentially going to be losing if he doesn't act now, because this boxing game, it allots you a short window and opportunity of making moves that are advantageous to you. And like I said, that window of opportunity is very small, and that time is now, given where he's at in his career and his age. Not to say that he's old and he can't have another 10 years to his career, but he's well into his his maturity stage in boxing, and he's right there at his prime. So again, Father Time is undefeated. I would like to see him go out on top. Like I said, now is the time for him to make the moves that are apparent for him to make, especially for him to be called great. So let's just see how this plays out. Hopefully, with all the coverage that's being expended on this subject of Terrence Crawford fighting the best and Bob Arum's inability to promote black fighters, hopefully everything that's being covered on this reaches his ear, reaches his mind. I'm quite sure he's intelligent enough of a man to understand that Bob Arum is not moving him in a way that I'm sure he would have liked to have been moved. So hopefully this gives him a bit of motivation to make a better move going forward. So let's just see how it plays out. But I appreciate the time on the topic, Roundtable Talk. For those of you that haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Even get in that comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Give me y'all thoughts on the matter, or any other matters in which y'all want me to delve in on. I do my best to get out my spiel on it. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.